What is up, YouTube? How y'all doing? Check it out. Check it out. Let's see what this bad boy is all about. We back at Too Strong's channel. Why Jay-Z's latest lawsuit has everyone talking. Shocking NBA interview. Shout out to my main man Marlon. We had Too Strong on our live channel. Y'all go check out our live channel, man. Check out the live channel. It got kind of heated over there. But my man Marlon, hey, I'm with you, Marlon. You every now and then you need somebody. I love a person that can stand they ground no matter what. Stand your ground while you're making sense. Like that. So most definitely. And we did a couple of Too Strong's videos, man. And I want to show some love to my main man Marlon because he puts it down, baby. So shout out to you. And hey, check it out, man. Y'all hit that subscribe button, give him a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Let's check this out.
Brought against Jay-Z and Puff Daddy on behalf. This new lawsuit brought against Jay-Z and Puff Daddy on behalf of a 13-year-old has far-reaching complications more than people are looking at. For a long time, people have been saying that Jay-Z has been complicit in a lot of the activities of Puff Daddy, much less probably involved in them as well. Well, this lawsuit sheds some light on that. Now, there are no names named, obviously. It's a 13-year-old, at least at the time back in 2000. But what we're going to explore is the links between not just this case that has to do with Jay-Z and Puff Daddy, but the similarities overall between the two cases of the lawsuits and imprisonment of Puff Daddy, and now the beginning phases of these charges being brought against Jay-Z. So if you would bear with me, this may take some time to flesh out, but I think if you hang around long enough, you'll see exactly why the similarities matter. At the end of this, we'll be breaking down another aspect of this, and that has to do with the person that has been violated, or at least allegedly violated. Back in 2024, which is this year, early on, there were a couple of lawsuits brought against Jay-Z. One on behalf of someone named Jody Watt. Now, when you look at that one, it kind of implicates Jay-Z on the same level of Puff Daddy. Now, what we're talking about here is not just the fact that Jay-Z is being sued, but for the types of things that he's being sued. And also we're going to look at the timeline of what's happening now with Jay-Z versus what happened to Puff Daddy on his way to imprisonment. Because we do believe they're cut from the same cloth and are built around the same premise of the cases. If you remember correctly, at the onset of this case with Diddy, there were a whole bunch of implications between the lawsuit over his liquor label, and then it went to lawsuits about him having activities at parties, and then it went from there to have him implicated in a bunch of allegations of women saying that he did this and thus to them. And then from there, it investigated into a raid, and then from a raid to an arrest, and then an arrest to no bond. Everybody was thinking for a long time that, of course, Puff Daddy had some off-color kinds of lifestyle livings, but no one ever thought that he would eventually get arrested. We all kind of hoped that for whatever misdeeds he did, he would be arrested. However, that didn't take place until initially a few things kicked off. Attack of the label that he had, attack of the goods that he had, and that moved on to the attack of the character that he had, and then from the character attack of the kinds of things he would be indulging in, and then eventually investigations yielded what we see today. Also, you have to remember that in the lawsuits, many young people are also implicated in the people that Puff Daddy has actually violated. Again, allegedly, because it hasn't gone to trial yet. But when we look at the actual lawsuit that is being brought, that it names Jay-Z and Puff Daddy in the same lawsuit, we start to break down a few things that seem a little suspicious. And I don't mean in a way that could let Jay-Z and Puff Daddy off, but along the lines of the final thoughts that we're going to give at the end of this video. So I'm going to be reading off a couple of things. If you see me looking down, I'm not ignoring you. I wanted to make sure I got what I wrote down correctly.
If you see me looking
what
down.
What had happened was the 13-year-old said that she had been dropped off at an event. This was back in 2000.
Okay.
Now, the alleged incident happened post that, but I want to make sure you log in your mind that a 13-year-old was dropped off at a location to go to a party.
Okay.
Just make sure we get that right.
Okay.
13, party, dropped off alone.
Or 16.
Now, from there, she was saying that she was trying to get into this venue, but couldn't get in. So she started to approach certain people that had fancier cars, limos, and the such to try and find her way into the party. This is when she said she was noticed by a few people, all linked to and affiliated with Jay-Z and Puff. Now, she was eventually let into this thing, and they were like, oh, she finally met Diddy, and he said, hey, you want to come to the after party? Reluctantly, she went. That's what it says. Just not jump. Don't ask me why. This is what it says. She went to the after party. Now, initially, you might be thinking, why is a 13-year-old being brought into a party that's for adults? One of two things could be true. She was 13 at the time, and it did happen, and she looked older than her age, or it didn't happen. None of this has been proven or unproven so far. So right now, it's all speculative and allegedly. So just remember, if I say anything that sounds factual, if you don't mind, on my behalf, please, if you'd be so kind, put the word allegedly up in there, because that's what we're saying, allegedly. So at that time, she went into this after party with Jay-Z and Puff and was given a drink. Now, she said in the lawsuit that her drink started to make her feel a little bit off. Dizzy, some swaying happening, and then eventually, Puff it was, he said, that led her to a question of, let's take this to the next level. What proceeded next, by her statement in the case file, both him and Jay-Z began to take turns. I'm not going to get into graphic detail. You should know what that means. And it went on for hours. She also said in this lawsuit that there are people, bigger name celebrities, that were there and witnessed it and did nothing. So the question then remains, did she know who these people were? And if she did know, will they be also implicated at a later date, either by bringing in as material witnesses or brought in by lawsuits themselves for negligence? Don't know that, but she mentioned that there were multiple ones, well-known ones, there at the same time that she was being abused. Now, what she had said was not just regular old, here, let me hug you, let me kiss you kind of thing, but we're talking about the full deal. The full deal, clothing removed, such and such, so on and so on. Remember the age, however, 13. Now, if you go down further, this is a matter of whether or not the thing happened, right? So remember, dropped off, went to the party, got abused, left. Fast forward to where we are today. The lawsuit then includes that she was going to be filing, but here's the kicker. In the specific law, that we had heard about this floating around the internet, that the lawyer had said that there were threats. I guess that would be the word, or at least suggestive threats, coercion tactics to make him either drop the lawsuit or forget the whole thing altogether. If you remember, there was this one actually got out where the lawyer said that Jay-Z had told him, if you think this big about it and it's such a big deal, go ahead and sue me. Victims need to be, looked at and be justified before the court. So go ahead, sue me. If this is such a big deal, go ahead and do it. Now, one of two things you could think: he's really innocent and he's making sure that everybody know I'm innocent by telling you, go ahead and sue me. Or go ahead and sue me, and then the part that's not said and see what happened. So apparently the latter is what happened. The and see what happens is what came next. To the level of what these threats were, or suggestions or coercions, we don't know. But to put them in the lawsuit, one would have to assume, and I'd hate to put myself in the assumption category, but to assume that he either has physical evidence that this was indeed done, coercion tactics to either dissuade the plaintiff or to deter the lawyer. May not have been directly by Jay-Z, could have been one of his henchmen, but in either case, it did not come from Puff. That threat came from Jay-Z. So you have to ask yourself one of two things, or both. Did Jay-Z have a hand in it? And if he did have a hand in it, did he actually threaten them? One might think, okay, well, if it's Jay-Z, how come this is the first time we're hearing about any type of lawsuits? Well, let's slow down your roll just a little bit. Indeed, there have been accusations before of Jay-Z being inappropriate with minors in cases. Now, if you remember, too, at the onset of Jay-Z's career, when he was first linking up with Beyonce, the age gap was quite tremendous. Don't you remember that? She was 16 and he was 27. So to say that perhaps Jay-Z does not have a propensity for the younger would be a lie. He does indeed have a proclivity to that. Now, the question is, does he have such a proclivity that he is going to act on it on a reluctant person. He raps about it. So maybe, I don't know, perhaps, but again, alleged, possible, maybe, we don't know, hasn't gone to trial. We're simply going based on what the case says and what we know about Jay-Z.
Okay.
The way now is where we're going to tie the timeline between both him and Puffy. Now, if you remember some time ago, liker or hater, Jaguar Wright had mentioned that Jay-Z was going to be the next to go down. She had said it, not me. We were just listening to what she said. She said that Jay-Z would be the next to go. So let's look at timeline now. Let's look at series of events and see if they almost mirror each other in how they approach this case. I'm not a lawyer. I leave that to Corey. He's more of the brain when it comes to that. That ain't me. And I'm not at the age where I want to really get too efficient at it. I have an expert. That's why I got Corey. I don't need to know this stuff. He'll explain it to me. And then if I have questions, I can always go clarify. So as far as what we know, is that how they started to go after Puff was small things first. Things that could get them an entry point in. So you have now a lawsuit against the liquor label that he has. Okay, cool. That's okay. Oh, you acting up. Now we're going to have to take this to the next level. All of a sudden, a couple more lawsuits. A couple of women come out to firework. Then another lawsuit. And then before too long, a raid.
Okay.
And before too long, from the raid come the arrest.
Mm-hmm.
And from the arrest comes a plea deal. And from the plea deal comes no bond. And then he's still in prison. Well, in May 16th of 2024, there was such a lawsuit brought against Jay-Z. The crazy part about this particular lawsuit is this, and I want to make sure we get this one correctly, okay? This is what it actually says on it. A complaint for violation of Section 14A of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934. Now, on the surface, you're looking at it and thinking, okay, well, that's nothing to do with specifically trafficking. Now, remember, the first thing that happened with Diddy was not to do what he actually got arrested for. Just remember this. Mm-hmm. They have to have some sort of a pry bar to open the crate first. And once you get that and you can see inside, you're like, oh, there's some jewelry in there. Rock that top off, throw it open, and then all of the goods are available to. Now you just have to decide, do I dig to the bottom or start peeling away the top layers until I get to the rest of it? This is exactly how they got Puffy.
Great.
Just remember this.
Excellent.
So here you have in May of 2024, this particular lawsuit gets filed. Going forward, now you hear a couple other people complaining that, oh, there's another one of Jay-Z. Now, there was another one of Jay-Z way back in the day. You may not remember this. And if you do, you're better than me because I didn't. Corey had to remind me. So now there was a younger person around the same age that also brought a case against Jay-Z. So it's not like this is a one-off, not like it would be impossible. That you can't chalk it up to that. If the pattern had existed before, this particular case could indeed carry merit, even under law. So now that we've had the same exact entry points for both Puff and Jay-Z of attacking, and I'm reminding you, when I say attack, I don't mean it, oh, those poor fellas, what did they do to get attacked? No, what I mean is going after the prey strategically. They attacked Puffy and Jay on the same level. Crime. Regular crime, small crime, big crime, nonetheless, crime. From there, though, you're going to see now with, again, Puffy had a lawsuit, sexually in nature. What does Jay-Z have? A lawsuit, sexually in nature. But no one still thought that Puffy was going to go to jail, much less get arrested, much less get his place raided. Nothing of that sort has happened to Jay-Z yet. But remember, it took a while for this to happen with Puff, at least a couple of years. If this is indeed the onset of his demise, they're doing the same process. And if it worked, let it work. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they're doing that. Coming now to a November 20th to December 8th. Now, this lawsuit that is filed against Jay-Z was filed on the 8th of this month. Now, I'm going to read the names that are included at the on. It is, of course, Sean Combs and his entire entities of recording labels. And then at the tail end, Sean Carter. On the lawsuit that had to do with him beginning this whole thing, like I said, back in May 2024, the names of it are Jack Dorsey, Block Inc., Sharon Rothstein, Mary Meeker, and a bunch of other people that most people haven't heard about. But Jay-Z's in that list of people. I would assume, this is just an assumption, has to do something with either recording or something of the like. Now, remember, Jay-Z also has clothing lines. Any business that they had, just like with Puff, you go after, start the process to bring at least some light on a legal level to these individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Most don't look at this from these perspectives simply because the case is just scandalous. Okay, so let's be honest. People are looking at this as a 13-year-old. Perfect. That's egregious. How could he? Hollywood is filled with the P words and all kinds of stuff, and we're never going to get to the bottom of it. Yeah, let's knock this back down. Just roll it back. Roll it back. You're never going to incriminate Jay-Z on a straight up charge like this. There has to be some sort of a precursor, whether it's related or not, to bring him down. Don't forget, the man is not no small fish. He's not a small fry. He's a big, big dog. He's one of the biggest ones out there. If he is indeed guilty of these particular things, then you could see some bigger things coming down the pike. But they have to set this up. Let's be honest. They would not have caught Puffy.
That's the same thing I've been saying from day one, man. That's a little bone that he threw out there, but he can break it down a lot better than I can. I'm trying to tell y'all, these lawyers know what they doing. Here we go.
Guilty of these particular things, then you could see some bigger things coming down the pike.
Bigger things coming down the pike.
Set this up. Let's be honest.
Gotta set it up, though.
Puffy and kept him the way he is had they not done it strategically. Put certain things out in the media, have him force his hand to say something, do something, act a certain way, remove something from the public eye, leave, come back, whatever it was, they created the mindset, at least in Puffy, to be aware. And in his awareness, fumbled. Can they do the same thing with Jay-Z? He seems a little more solid-minded. Or at least his vendetta streak and the stupid streak are not synonymous. They kind of work outside of each other, which means he might have a way stronger streak of intelligence than to screw up. Maybe in his messaging of you better not, there was actually some kind of a hidden message there. Maybe, perhaps. So let's go to the threats. There is nothing that's said in there that the threats came either phone, email, or conversation. None of the above. It just said threats. Now, if that be the case, you would think the lawyer would have to have some sort of tangible proof that this particular thing took place. Could he have had information, text messages, which would kind of make Jay-Z not as smart because he told him to take it to the courts. But if that is the case, why would he just not say, hey, let me holler at you and settle? Could it be that Jay-Z just thought, okay, you know what? I'm big enough. He's not going to come after me. And he's also, if he does, he's probably not going to win anything because by the time it gets through litigation, the girl's going to run out of money. They're not going to be able to continue. I'm not worried. What they're seeking is awarding compensatory damages for all physical injuries, emotional stress, physiological harm, anxiety, humiliation, physical and emotional pain, suffering in family, and social disruption, and other harm. 13. I'm not quite sure if there is record. Again, this is part of the alleged case. Alleged. I'm not sure if there's record of her going to counseling and divulging this stuff to her counselor. And all they would have to do is verify whether, yes, this is something that she addressed or no. If they have that smoking gun, if they have at the time of the event that this girl went to the authorities and said, yeah, this happened, and they have a verbal or written documentation that such things happen, but they couldn't bring it at the time, could this be the beginning of the end of Jay-Z? Now, I'm going to quote something here. There's nothing new under the sun. The reason there's nothing new under the sun, because man just finds a new way to do something old. In this case, two things: blackmail and abuse. Blackmail and abuse. So here's my question to the audience. What is a 13-year-old doing out and about at a party, much less an after party with adults?
13 years old.
That'd be all I want to know as to
crazy.
why and how. So let's read the initial first section of this lawsuit and see if something jumps out at you that seems out of the ordinary. Puffy and Jay-Z drugged and assaulted a 13-year-old girl in an after party following the 2000 Video Music Awards. Another celebrity stood by and watched as they took turns. Many were present at the after party and did nothing to stop the assault. Now, if we're looking at this the way it is here, you have to ask yourself the main question: why is a 13-year-old at the after party? And secondarily, where are the parents? If there are no parents, then you have to assume that maybe, just maybe, her story is indeed good and true, because no one's just going to show up at 13 years. Just not going to show up unless there is some kind of a incentive somewhere there. Like, again, as remember I said, she kind of may have looked older than 13. Speculation, I get it. But to us, it came up as a kind of a red flag that someone of that age was, one, there, welcome there, and then later asked to go to an after party. I don't know how old she looked. I don't care how old she looked. It would have been up to Jay-Z and Puff to verify said age. Parents, real quick, before I get back to the details of this case. Do you think it necessary for yourself to monitor, curtail, stop, or allow your child from going somewhere else? Leaving the home, going to do something, do you have to verify what they're doing? I got news for you. You should. You should indeed verify. Because
That's
if you
an easy
remember,
one.
this is not the first time where a child was allowed to go somewhere by the parent, and then the parent all of a sudden came back and said, "Oh my goodness, I didn't know this would happen." All of the Michael Jackson kids. There was allegations long before that, and all of a sudden now they can still send their kids. Now they want money. Only a half-baked parent would send their child, 13 years old, down to a location for a party, much less a game. What was it? How did they phrase this? Let me make sure I get the terminology right, because I don't want to lie on nobody. You know me. I don't want to lie on nobody. This is what it says specifically. At this particular party, it was make sure I get it. There he goes. Video Music Awards. Now, quick question. Music video awards would entail that there are awards handing out for people who are performers, which tells me that they're of age, older. Did she have a chaperone? Did the chaperone know Jay-Z? Is the chaperone involved in this case but not named? Could it have been she gone with her parents? Were her parents involved? Could her parents have been selling her to someone else? All of these questions are needing to be asked simply because people keep telling us, you all you do is gossip. All you do is talk about this thing. What value is of this to us? And blah, 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 blah. This is why. This is why. This little girl is not mentioned as an actress or singer or anything popular. She just went there to try and participate in the events. She was allowed to do so by her parents. Now, I don't know whether or not they thought that Jay-Z was just not going to be a problem there, pay her any mind. Puffy wasn't going to pay her any mind. But people, let's think about this. You're 13. Would you be allowed to go anywhere without your parents? Should you? You're not really cognitive enough to make good decisions at that point. Much less go to an after party where people know drugs and drinking are going to be, because, hey, look.
Plus, the father is talking like, I don't recall this and I don't recall that. The father, maybe a friend of mine drove me there. Maybe the father drove them there. The father probably drove behind him or something. I don't know. I'm trying to get real far-fetched too. Hey, here we go.
Unless you live under a rock, there is no way you can tell me that some of these parties ain't gonna have alcohol and debaucherous behavior. So this actually does fall back on the parents. This is why we talk about the things we talk about.
It's parents.
Now, the things that have happened in this original lawsuit that we talked about with Jay-Z way back in the day, there is someone who actually fleshes this out in fair detail. We'll be talking to him here eventually on this program, but he does break it apart pretty significantly, mostly because he was around in these times. So to say that they may not have any merit to either the old case or the new case, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a very hard time. If all the rumors are true about Jay-Z as well, about everyone that he's brought into his fold to sign on that were underage, he tried his best to do a certain thing with them to ensure that they would sign. If this person has that kind of attitude and behavior, this case is not far-fetched at all, in the slightest. I've seen people cover this topic, and where they normally go with is this. We don't know what happened. Or they'll say, this poor girl went through blah, 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 blah. Again, alleged. 25 years ago is a long time, a very long time for something to happen, much less a very long time to come forward. But if what the lawyer is saying is true, that there were intimidation tactics that were available all through the time, I can see why she stood back and waited. Wait at least till you're of a higher level in the society of age to actually bring these lawsuits together. I don't think there's a statute of limitation, but again, they wouldn't have brought it forward had there been a statute of limitation. I understand that most also won't want to address the way things are going from this aspect. It's not your normal, typical, gossipy kind of way of looking at it. And that's good, because that's not what we are. We're in the gossipy channel. 2 questions for the audience. Will Jay-Z get away with this? 2, did Jay-Z do this? I understand if you answer the question second, that if he did do it, he did, and he deserves to, right? But if he didn't do it, is this an attempt to bring him down? And why? Does he know something more? Now, you can't say he wasn't at the parties. That you can't say. You can't now say that Jay-Z was just a friend of Puffy. There are multiple pictures, multiple videos, all at the white party, even the white after party. He was there. So let's not try to defend Jay-Z on a level that can be easily debunked. He was there. We had watched a video of a young lady who said that this is exactly what happened at the studios. All of these stories that they talk about these two, people corroborate. But for some reason, people want to separate them. There's a reason why he was lumped into this lawsuit, and I think this is why. Jay-Z has been above, I mean, I'd say he has been. He thinks he's above the law. Even to the time when Jaguar Wright said, I'm going to sue. She said, Jay-Z's going to sue everybody who talks about it. And he did. He didn't sue her, though. He didn't. He sued Piers Morgan. But the one that was really talking about him was Jag. So why would he do that? And then also talk to the lawyer saying, do what you got to do. You ain't going to have nothing on me. Why? Bravado. He really thinks he ain't going to get touched. Why? Because he has never been touched. Even at the point in time where he met Beyonce, nobody said anything. Now, she was underage. Okay, just let's also remember 17 is indeed a minor. Okay, we have that under. So he has a history. Good. He has at least something in his wheel well that suggested he could. Good. And he also has access. He has access. These cases are so similar. It makes us wonder if there was anyone individually running what happened with Puffy. I'm starting to believe that maybe that Puffy might have been the front man, the runner, the face. Like the one that's gonna say, okay, it's me, the fall guy, him. He wasn't banking on someone going back to check. Now we're checking. And we're seeing a whole lot of, I don't know, breadcrumbs, Jay-Z. Tons of breadcrumbs. This issue is not going to go away, and I really hope it does now. Okay, so the disclaimer is if there is no 13-year-old girl and it doesn't exist, this is a massive way for Jay-Z to get even more popular because he's going to end up bringing a lawsuit for defamation. So, Mr. Busby, you better have all your ducks in a row because I know you're a big lawyer, but Jay-Z got long money. He can hire the best. Long money. But to the audience, if he did indeed try to subvert information on behalf of this girl by telling her to shut up or going to the lawyer and telling you better not say anything or else, that's a big deal. That is a very big deal. I don't think Jay-Z will get away, though. I half believe Jaguar. I think he will eventually pay the piper and he will be arrested. I think he will. If everybody were to look at the way this thing has come about, you might think to yourself, why are they only attacking a certain type of person? I want you to try to just park that image in your mind that is a specific type of person, and please focus on the subject matter. This has very little to do with what they look like, but more to do with what they've done. Because let's be honest, they've done it to not just people that look like them, they've done it to people that doesn't look like them. Now Jay-Z has 2 cases. The one from back in November, and now this one, December 8th. Do you think he's going to get away with it now? I'm not saying he's going to go completely away. You see how Jay-Z, how Puffy didn't get away with fully, but he's in jail, but he's still popular? I think that's how Jay-Z is going to get. But he'll relish it. Let's just be honest. I think Jay-Z will be the one to be like, I got it. He's probably going to be like, I'm good.
That's
because he's used to it.
Voice. Oh man!
Now, don't act like Jay-Z is not a thug. He's a thug. Yeah, thug. Okay, and he knows how to handle himself. Maybe he has all this figured out, and the reason why he can boast and say, "Go ahead and arrest me." Then go ahead. Send in your court law. Send in everything you want. You're not gonna get arrested. Now, Jay-Z, real quick, I want to talk to you real quick. I mean, I know you won't hear me, but calling the bluff of someone works usually if you really, really, really have nothing that they can bluff on. But the details in this, you can't deny, because here's why. Hear me out. I'm not saying you did it, but here's why. Some things are very difficult to refute for you. The law says that Puff was having these parties. The information says that he was doing some very bad things at these parties, but the pictures say that you was there. I'm just saying, man. I'm looking at pictures, and unless I'm seeing somebody else, it's you, right? Okay, all right. So everybody that could be implicated, the lawsuit, I'm gonna read it again for you, man. What it say is that there were people there that watched. So let's say that it wasn't you that touched her. Say you didn't do anything. Say she's misremembering. Say that the trauma response is so great that she can only really remember that something happened, but specific people, impossible. Another celebrity stood by and watched. Okay, you and him go far back. You and him have multiple pictures where you're cozy buddy chum, including at these events around that time. Okay, I think this might have been actually the kickoff time to a lot of the allegations of these white parties. So you were there at the onset. So hear me out. If this happens to come out that you were way more involved, and hey, here's a little linchpin for you. Suppose this extra celebrity that ain't named doesn't have to be. So again, we do a lot of speculating. We do speculating, but sometimes our speculating come true to be true. Suppose that these people that they mentioned, they didn't mention names. They mentioned yours though, okay? They mentioned yours, but suppose the people that they say they watched, they already said, I'll cooperate. I couldn't cooperate then because I was in fear of my life to what Jay-Z might do, what Puffy might do. I seen what they did to people. I just didn't want to say nothing at the time. And now they do.
Now they got them on tape.
Why they're not mentioned by name? If that boy, oh man, and they have eyewitnesses.
Whoa.
It's going to move from alleged to assured real quick.
Whoa.
Real quick. And look, I know you were saying you're not going to leave the States and go somewhere else, but if I hear you on a permanent vacation overseas, I wouldn't be surprised. I would be at least be surprised if you decide to do a Roman Polanski and disappear somewhere where there's no extradition. Not saying you would. Jay-Z, I'm not accusing you of nothing. I'm just reading the documents where you're named. That's all I'm doing. The shoe fit though. So here's what our questions remaining is this.
Most definitely.
Was there a real 13-year-old? Documents say there is. We can't verify that until the case kicks off. Was she assaulted? And were the two men that she says assaulted her, are they the two men that really did it? Was it Sean? And it's so weird that you both had the same first name spelled different. Was it the two Seans or some other person named Ray Sean? We don't know. But it says two Seans in there. You and Puff. Parents. This is where I get to the tail end of my message to the people who think this is gossip. I understand that you want to give your kids all kinds of stuff. I get it. You want them to have experiences that you never had. You want them to go places you never went. You want them to meet people you never did. I get it. But if this did happen to this little girl at 13 years old, I can ascribe blame to the people that did it to her, and we are 100% behind punishment for whoever did it. But you know what would have never happened had you been a good parent? The event. If she had just been told, stay home. If she had just been parented, Why are you sending your 13-year-old or even allowing your 13-year-old to go to the events like this? I understand that many of us were blinded back, but wait, it's only 4 years ago. So, I mean, there are still many people awake. And it's not even like Jay-Z has some good songs that will really uplifting, that will help magnify people's lives into the positive. It's not even like that.
Wow.
You are sending her into the lion's den. Parents, don't do this. You have no idea what people are capable of. You might be in love with these celebrities. And look, we found out the hard way when we mentioned people like Denzel. Oh my gosh. Look, there were people that came for our necks because we said that Denzel was a kind of weird kind of, kissing dudes and stuff. We got all kinds of flack. But parents, you got to vet better than this. First of all, you do not let a child that young go on their own to an event where they're only adults. If you hear me and nothing else, that's got to stop. Keep track of where your children are. And if you don't know, make sure you do know. This kind of event could have been provided, at least prevented. In my eyes, it could have been prevented.
Mm-hmm.
If they had just been parents. Predators are going to prey. That's what they do. You can't avoid that. You can avoid your children, though, being the object of their preying. If this girl happened to be the one that they did this to, I pray peace on her, and I hope that she gets the justice that she rightly deserves, even at 37 years old. I hope she gets it. Will she? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a very tough one. If these threats work, if they work, watch for the lawsuit to be dropped. Now, if we're supposed to believe that Jay-Z can't do it, look back at his life before he became I guess it would be a business mogul. Look at his life before then. Trust and believe he's more than capable. I'm not saying you did it, but look, your track record isn't lending us to believe that you're not capable. Let's put it like that. Okay? There are little hints of things around that says that you might be possible. So what we covered was the timeline. What we covered was the activity. What we covered was the who, the where, and the why. What we don't know is the if. That's the only thing we don't know. If, however, this does take place, and it is indeed true, and it was a thing that happened, and this person, this girl, did indeed get SA'd, it's over for you, bro. It's over. And that would prove Jaguar right. Oh, sorry, my bad. You see how that?
No
that
pun
came,
intended.
I wasn't intentional.
You're supposed to say
that was not intentional. That would prove Jaguar right. She is right. You get it? So if it happens, you can thank her for precursoring, saying, I said it, I saw it, it's coming. But I do hope this girl finds justice. One way or another. People don't hate me for this. Please don't hate me for this. But if they're not guilty, I do hope that they do not get charged with something that they didn't do. I don't, as much as I don't like what they do, and as much as I don't like the parties that they're conducting, and I don't like the fact that they push the demise of the society on people, as much as I don't want them to get falsely accused. There's plenty to accuse them of. We don't need to make stuff up. I want this to be a clean-cut case where you see it happened, or it didn't happen, case open or case closed.
Yes,
we'll be monitoring this. Have no doubt that we'll be probably covering this in a more robust fashion on our live sometime soon, because I'm thinking that there might be more information popping out here in the next couple of days.
In the next couple of days.
Jay-Z can't stand to have his name dragged through the mud. So he's probably going to act up, say something stupid, or say something smart that might actually give himself away. If like I said, with the death threats and stop and cease and desist, if that did happen, he's already given himself away. Already. He might be cooked already. We never know. But from what we can see, Jay-Z got lumped in with the exact same activity that Sean Puffy Combs was involved in from the times of the advent of his parties till now. And if that be the case, it won't be just Jay-Z going down. It might be a whole slew of others, including his wife. You know, I'm more saying maybe it might have been him and her, and those are the ones that were present. You never know. We'll keep you posted, and as soon as we find out, trust and believe me.
I think it was J-Lo.
You will too.
Hey. Too strong. I think it was J-Lo or something. I don't know. I'm just guessing, man. Allegedly, gotta say allegedly. But yeah, I definitely got some points, man. I mean, nobody ever thought that maybe the father who is acting weird as a dad, I don't recall that type of talk on the way home. I don't recall it happening that way, but I was busy or however he said it. Y'all know, man. Hey, the Music Recording Network, we just bringing y'all the info, man, and everything. I thought he hit on some great points that try to make y'all open your minds and do some thinking, man. Don't just get all this information to say, okay, he said that, so that's the truth. Nah, you gotta do some research for your own and try to get your own conclusions. I'm gonna get on up out of here, man. Y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.